so we're looking at doing this or this. And so what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a very repeatable pattern, but then that pattern starts to compress up here. But like from here over, it's pretty solid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with that pattern. I wonder if I can copy this into the pattern maker. Let's see. So let's copy that and we'll see. All right, so I'm just going to start with a diamond here. And we're going to have to fix this up. All right, so let's make that a color that we can see. And I got to change my layers so I can see what's going on. All right, there we go. Okay, so I want these two to be perfectly aligned with each other. And then I need these two to be perfectly aligned with each other. And then I need the spacing of these, this, this, and this, to be distributed correctly. Nope. So let's go selection. There we go. And I grab this one and this one horizontally aligned. There's probably a much easier way of doing this. There we go. Okay. And then I grab this one, and this one. And let's distribute those horizontally. Nope. Go back to selection. There we go. Okay, now we can grab this one and this one. I'm just doing that to make sure that I have a perfect diamond. Did that track? Did you follow that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we've got this. This is a perfect diamond. I can cut this up. I can do a number of things to it. But basically, as I'm looking at this in my pattern, the top right section of it is bright and the rest of it is dark. If you look at different spots, that changes a little bit, and up here it changes. So we might reverse this and change it, but for right now I'm going to make this section of it be bright and the rest of it be dark. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to go to Object Pattern Make. Okay, and that comes in like this. And now we get to do some fun stuff. So let's kind of zoom in here. And if we leave this the way it is, then we've got a pretty decent situation, but we'll have to add some stuff in here. And so I'm just going to come in and I'm going to do some stuff like this, and then we'll kind of realign these things. And I'm going to make this be the brighter version. Let's zoom in. So let's grab this one. Command Y to get our outline view. Alright, so I'm just going to do this real quick. I'm going to move this up because the second anchor point that we grab is going to be able to be aligned. So this is the first one. Shift click on the second one, and then I go align, align. Okay, same thing over here. So click on that one, shift click on the second one. I come back over here and I go align, align. Okay, command Y to come back. So now I've got that. So let's see if we can paste in here. Maybe not. We can. That's great news. Okay, so I'm going to zoom way out. Okay, so let's get this image. I was going to freak out here. Let's get this image off to the side so we can just look at it. Okay, so let's see if this will work. If this works, this will make our lives really easy. So I can just grab this and drag it over and just align it. Too much. We got too much snapping going on, so let's. We don't have any snapping. So we'll just have to eyeball it. The problem is this diagonal, and so we're not able to use the alignment because it uses the outer boundaries of stuff. So. So if I can grab this, I'm just trying to line it up. Okay, and that's probably as good as we're going to get. And what I'm thinking right now is we can actually probably delete this red one and then just put this on top of a black, because we really just need this. So I wonder if we can delete that as well. And that'll just give us that. Now let's keep that. Because then we also need this over here.
That's great. Because I can rarely even send people to the website because I do this.
Okay. All right. So then let's just turn this to be black, and we'll turn this to be dark gray or light gray, and this will be the same. Okay, let's check to see if we're good there. So I'm also seeing, so I'm just doing the bottom one here because the top one is like inverted. I'm also seeing there's like a gap in between. There's like a little line. It doesn't seem to be going all the way through. But I'm going to come in and just kind of like hint at part of that line. So I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to add an anchor point here and add an anchor point here. And I'm just going to pull this up to kind of give us just a little bit of a indication. And then do I need to put this on top or bottom? It's not going to do it. Oh, one of those did it. There we go. Okay, so that'll help just a little bit to give that line. Okay, so let's go done. Okay, I'm going to zoom out here. Okay, so now I'm going to just roughly make a square with my rectangle tool about like that. Okay, and we will apply with our swatch panel, we'll apply this to the fill. Okay, and then I'm going to make a copy and paste it back. And that copy, I'm going to put a black background on it. Okay, so we've got that. I'm wondering if maybe we need another indication here. So I'm going to double click so that we can edit this. Come back over here, and what is causing this one? So I'm going to grab this guy. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to go anchor point, white arrow tool, and we'll kind of just jog up a little bit like this. And we'll go long, why not? Okay, and then we'll click done. And that should update that for us. Okay, so do we still have one behind that? We do, so I'll grab this and we'll go copy, paste it back, and the one behind it needs to be black. There we go. So that's looking a little bit better. Now what I'm seeing is that this value is not as bright as this. And so there's a number of things I can do, but the easiest thing I can do is just edit this thing again. So I'm just going to grab this top one, double click, and I'm just going to grab all of these and shift click on the black one. So I just have the gray, and then I'm just going to lower the value of that so it's darker. And then each time I press done, it's going to update that swatch.
I brought you a present.
So that's a little bit better.
Yes.
Okay, and then I wonder if we don't have it be so sharp.
Oh, I did? Okay. I try really hard, but I get a lot of emails.
The most recent one, I don't know.
Alright, so we'll come back here. I'm going to grab white arrow tool.
Question. It's kind of a weird.
And let's zoom in.
I wonder if I could talk to you.
Yeah.
Hit A.
Yeah.
You sit down. I gotta just grab something off the printer while it's on my mind. I'll be right back.
I'll see you in the half hour.
See you.
Okay, so I'm going to grab this and I'll put this back. So I'm mainly just trying to get a little bit of realism to it, and I'm seeing that there's some roundness, just a touch. It's still pretty sharp, but there's just a little bit of roundness here. Okay, so that's going to round out there. All right, so I'm going to click done again. Okay, so I could keep going. You're going to keep working the pattern until you like it. That's basically the gist of it. Okay, so once we get that, now we need to resize this pattern so that it fits kind of the space that we want it to fit. And so we kind of count the rows. We can do any number of things, but it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this shape. I'm going to hit S to highlight my scale tool. Double click on scale. I'm going to take transform objects off so it doesn't resize the object, but leave transform patterns on. And then we can just scale the pattern itself. Something about like that probably. Click OK. All right, so now we've got this. Now comes the tricky part, is I'm noticing that up here and down here, the pattern starts to squish vertically as it wraps around that cylinder. Go Object, Envelope, Distort, Envelope Options. And then let's go, good. So we've got Distort, Distort Pattern Fills checked. If I take this off now, okay, so I need that. So Distort Pattern Fills, click OK. And then I'm going to add, so let's go Envelope, Distort, Make with Mesh. Now what this is going to do, if we zoom into this here, what this is going to do is it's going to add little lines, and these lines will help us kind of distort and squish the pattern. I only need rows, so I'm just going to do one column. And I don't need this one in the middle as much. I need this down here. So let's try it. Let's leave it at 4 rows. We can always change it later. And then basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my white arrow tool. I'm going to grab this. And if I pull this down, it squishes that. And then I can further squish by using the handlebars. I'm going to do the same thing. So before I do it this time, just so those are easier to deal with, I'm going to grab these handlebars and pull this up. It bent, so let's just go straight up. Straight up. Okay, and then we'll grab these two, pull them up like this. Okay, and it kind of like bent that a little bit, so we can see if we can kind of smooth some of this out. It makes it worse. Let's see if moving this up is going to fix that. Makes it worse. We'll come down here. Pull this up or down. Probably up. All right. So now we've got our squish. All right, so now we got this situation, but what we don't have is we don't have this silhouette. So this silhouette is kind of giving us the idea that these are raised. And so instead of trying to figure all this out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a shape over the top of it. So let's come in here like this. Zoom out here. Okay. And I'm just going to come in with my pen tool. probably a better way to do this, but this is the one I'm thinking of right now. So I'm going to come up with my pen tool, and I'm just going to go up, down, and up, down, and just roughly, since this is so small, we don't need to be super precise. And I'm just going to close this off like this. Okay, and then I can just take this shape and reflect it. So hit O, Alt click, reflect across horizontal line, copy, and I'm going to drag this down. About like that. Then we'll grab both of these, Shift M, combine them. Okay, so now we have a top shape that has that kind of jagged line. Then I grab everything, Command 7 to mask it, and now we have that line. Still with me? Okay. All right. Luckily this is recorded, so you can watch it later. Okay, and I could go in and I could still exaggerate those if I wanted. Like, they don't seem like they're as spiky as I want them to be, and so I can go in and I can kind of pull them out and do more. And so I'm just going to do that now just for fun. So let's grab these top edges here. Okay, and then I'm just going to pull that up to exaggerate that. Okay, now we have a problem because inside of this clipping path, this black isn't filling that shape, so I can highlight it in my layers panel, and I can just pull it up. It'll kind of fill that shape for me. Okay, and if we want to end this pattern early, we can kind of pull that shape down because it's giving us some weird shapes, but kind of depends on what we want to do. So I'm just going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. So let's come in here like this, and we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll pull this down while I hold Shift. Great. All right, so let's zoom back out. Okay, so now we've got that. So now we want to look in here and we want to figure out the best ways to kind of shade this so it looks like this knob. And what I'm noticing is that down here I don't see a lot of highlights, right? And up at the top I don't see a lot of highlights. And so just a super easy way to do that is just, I'm going to make a rectangle, and I'm going to add a gradient to that rectangle. And in that gradient, I'm just going to go 2 color stops that are the same black. One of them that is brought down to 0. And then we just turn this 90 degrees. We'll flip that around. And now I can control, if I hit G here, I can control where this kind of shows up. And so I can just kind of fade that in like that. Okay, and then I can come in and let's just, oh, I'm on the thing. Okay, so that's how we want that. Grab this, and then I can come in and I can go, all right, multiply. Then I can drop the opacity just a little bit. Something along those lines. Okay, and then once we have that, I can just put that inside of my clipping mask. Okay, and then I can do the same thing. Hit O, Alt click, hit copy, drag this down. And we can squish this a little bit if we want. And I might, I'm just going to drag this the whole way down here like that. And then I'm going to knock the whole thing back with my transparency. So I want just a really subtle change there. Okay, so then I can come in and there's like a little burst here, so I'm just going to do like a white. Hit D, X, /, and we'll go Effect, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Let's go preview here. Let's crank this way down. So I just kind of want to tighten this up a little bit. It looks like we're getting kind of pixelated. So I'm going to go to Effect, Document, Raster Settings. And so are we just very small? We're just very small. Yeah, because we're already at 300, so that's fine. Okay, so then I'm going to come here and I'll go to the transparency panel. Let's try overlay. That's just enough to brighten it, but let's see what screen does. Let's see what lighten does. Or color dodge. Color dodge might be the one we want right now. And I can just turn this down. Okay. And I've already got this, so I don't need to make another one. So I'm just going to grab this with my black arrow tool. Drag it down. Right there. Blue. Bring this in like that. Okay. That's basically it. And then I can start grabbing things like this. I can go copy paste in front. Rotate this with hold shift. Let's bring this to the top. Put this over like this. Bring this up. Knock this back a little bit. Copy paste in front. Let's tighten it up. And make it brighter, or make it more pink. And we can go like this. No, grab this one. There we go. Alt click. Flip it across the vertical, make a copy. Arrow tools to kind of inch that in. And then we can knock this back just a little bit so it's not so intense. This one seems kind of strange, so I'm going to knock that back a little bit as well. Okay. And then I'm noticing that there's actually like a curve here. And so we could grab this whole thing and we could go Object, Envelope, Distort, Make with Warp. It's going to freak out a little bit. So let's do Arc Upper. And let's flip this vertical. There we go. Then you can slide this over and it'll just start to just kind of bend that whole thing a little bit. And since we had previously told it that it can work with the patterns, it's bending the pattern as well. So at a smaller size, that starts to look pretty good. And then you could come in and you could flip the thing if you wanted. I don't really need to. There's some details that you can kind of put in here. But that's kind of how I get started. Okay. Questions on that? Okay. Let me stop recording here.